My name is Bill Sumner. I joined the Navy in 1942, and at that time I lived at the Bay Area in California. Initially I went through boot camp in good old San Diego, and from there I was transferred to Pearl Harbor. I joined the USS Mahan at that time. That would be in September of 1942. And I served on board her until she was sunk at the Battle of Leyte in the Philippine Islands, and that was December 7th of 1944. And our ship was, at that time, was called a fighter director ship. We had a Air Force, or in that time Army Air Corps, person on board who was in charge of all of our own aircraft that were defending our own forces there. We were patrolling about 15 or so miles away from the invasion force itself, and during that time period, the Japanese came back and bombed the area where the troops were landing. After they had bombed, they were heading for home, and I guess the American P-38 started to hit them at that time. So they decided that rather than to go home, they would destroy us instead. And they saw our ship alone out in the middle there of the bay. And so they dove into us one at a time, one behind the other. There were 9 of them total. We were all twin-engine Bettys. Some of them came through. We hit some. The P-38s hit some. But 3 of them hit us. The first one hit us amidships in the wardroom area and killed some of the personnel that were in the wardroom at that time. The second aircraft that hit us went right between the 2 stacks and knocked both of our stacks off. In the meantime, we were knocking some of them down. It was very, very confusing, I'm sure you realize, with everybody firing and shooting at one another between the aircraft and ourselves. Then the third aircraft that hit us went across the ship, turned around, and came back from the opposite side. Initially, they were all on our starboard side of our aircraft when they came in. But the one aircraft went clear across us, missed us, and then came back and then hit up forward near Gun 2. And killed a number of people up in that area and wounded a bunch more. The ship itself was exploding from the ready ammunition on the weapons themselves, and we had no power at that time, so the ship was dead in the water. With the explosions, and we did not even have any water at the time because of our, again, no power. We could not pump water to fight the fires, so the skipper decided at that time it would be wise just to abandon ship. So we did. We all went off the ship. And one point of interest of this too is that I had a dog on board. His name was Butch. He's a little Cocker Spaniel, and he was our ship's mascot. So I had put him down below decks during the initial phase of the battle, and when we were told to abandon ship, I went down below to get him and bring him back up, and then we all jumped off the ship into the water. Some of the people went off the forecastle on the the front of the ship, the bow, and the rest of us were back on the stern. At that time, I was a pointer on Gun 4, which is a 5-inch 38 caliber weapon, and it was Gun 4 was back on the fantail. So it was very simple for me both to get the dog and then bring him up and then just go over the side. So a destroyer does not have much freeboard, as you know, and so we only had to drop about 10 feet into the water. Anyway, we had life jackets on and had the life nets, things of that nature to help keep the people from drowning and all. And we floated free of the ship for roughly about 2 hours or so. And then another destroyer, the USS Walkie, came along and picked us up. And another interesting fact from that was that nobody wanted to go on board until our dog went on first. And so they lowered a wastebasket for him. Well, I put him in the wastebasket, and then they raised him up on the deck of the ship. And then from then on, while we were all went on board the vessel. Going back to my own ship, the ship itself did not sink, and the explosions slowly went down. So we didn't know what to do with the ship. And then the people on board that made the decisions and all, not me, I was only a seaman at that time. Anyway, they decided to just go ahead and sink it because it was useless anyway. And it would have to be towed in all the way back to wherever they had to repair it. So with gunfire and torpedoes, they sank my old ship. So that was the end of it.